So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down. All right, welcome back to the channel. So today, guys, I want to talk about the Greenworks products, lawn care products. So today marks the 1-year anniversary since I first purchased these items, and over the past year, I mean, it's probably been the best set of lawn care items, equipment that I've owned. I decided to purchase because, you know, having the gas lawnmower, it's got a lot of work to it. You've got to tune it up, you've got to fill it up. There's a lot of maintenance when it comes to your traditional lawnmower and other equipment. But so I thought I'd take the dive. I was the first person in the neighborhood to give it a shot. And almost weekly, I get the question, what do I think about these items and this product, and do I think it's any good, or how's the battery doing? Is the battery dying out on you? How does the cut? Is it an even cut? Do I like it? So I've already kind of given that answer. I mean, I think it's a good product. But yeah, it's a great system. You can use the same battery for each unit. I've got the 80 volt unit here. I was going to get the 60, but I just thought the 80 was going to be better for my property. I have about a quarter of an acre lot. And when I'm done, this lot looks really good when I'm done. So as you can see, it's time for a cut. Grass is a little bit tall, but once it's cut, it looks pretty good. So that's what we're gonna do, make it look nice, and you guys be the judge. You tell me if it's something you'd be interested in, or if it gives the cut that you think might work for your yard. And be sure to leave the comments below and ask me any questions, because I've had it for a little while now. I've also got a couple other Greenworks products. I mean, I was so satisfied with this that I ended up getting a dethatcher, and also got a snow thrower as well. It's been working pretty well for me so far. Same battery for all units, so that makes it pretty convenient also. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down, and let's see where we end up. So they have a new model now in Lowe's and online where it has the 2 batteries in the unit to give it a longer runtime. But I haven't needed that. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but it's almost the same concept. It just takes one step out where you're swapping batteries in the single battery unit and letting you run them both at the same time. So I think it lets you use one and it drains one battery, and then it automatically switches over to the other battery that you have in the cap there. But this works great for me. I'm usually able to cut all in one run. This is a self-propelled model, so the longer you use the self-propelled, it will drain the battery a little bit longer, but or drain it faster. But it works great. I mean, I won't say that I haven't had to swap a battery in the middle of a cut. It all depends on how tall the grass is. If it's wet grass, there's a couple factors in there. When the unit senses it needs to use more power, it kicks it in. You don't miss a beat, but you might be draining more power than you think you are at the time. So, all right. So I was able to cut down most of the front, so you can see looks a whole lot better. sun's coming out, so there's a different view, but looks a whole lot better. I'm going to edge it up, clean it up, get it showroom ready. But I just wanted to give you guys a better view of the yard as I cut it. I realized I didn't do that on the first pass on the other side, but you can see the lawn, the grass is a little bit higher than I normally would like it. And so cutting it down, not too much. I still like my grass a little bit high, but not this high. We've been getting a lot of rain. So cutting it down just a little bit. And you know, the Greenworks doesn't miss a beat. One thing I like to do, or that I really like about this mower, is to lower it. You only have this lever right here, so there's 7 levels. I like to typically cut on the 5th or the 4th level, depending on the season. If it's spring, I keep it a little bit higher. In the summer, you know, with the heat and everything, I like to cut it just a little bit lower than that. So I use the 4 level, just so that you know, it's not too high. You want to be able to give it a little bit of room to breathe. But as you can see, man, this keeps going. So I'm going to be able to definitely wrap up the front here in about the next 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes max. And then I'll show you guys the backyard and how much I have to cut for that area. But let's keep going. Alright, so been able to cut this side down now to a nice level. You remember it was a little bit higher. 2 things about this lawnmower that I want to mention also. First, it's super light. I mean, I can get around almost any pivot and don't feel like I'm hauling, you know, a big machine. It's really light. You forget how light it is once you start going back to other units. I tried to cut the grass last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, with a Toro, and it was heavy, man. It was way heavier than I remembered in the past. And so you kind of get used to this lightweight machine that doesn't need a lot to get around. So that's one other thing I wanted to mention. Also, it's self-propelled. It's a game changer. I mean, it doesn't matter which model you get, but I think it is important that you get a self-propelled model, especially if you have an uneven property. I have a bit of an incline or a decline coming this direction into the backyard, and it makes a difference when I'm coming back up this little bit of a hill. When I have the self-propel going, it helps a ton. So but I've got about a 1/4 acre of a lot, and Greenworks cuts through it no problem. All right, so let's get back to the front. We're going to edge it up. We're going to clean it up. Let's give you a final product. All right, so guys, best part about this unit is popping the battery out of one and putting it in the other. It's that easy. It's that convenient. Now you get back to work. Here's our finished product, guys. So we cut the grass down using the Greenworks lawnmower, 80 volt. We trimmed the edges with the string trimmer, same Greenworks 80 volt, and then we was able to blow it all out with the backpack leaf blower. I like the backpack version better than the handheld blower. It just gives me more control. The battery itself is a little bit heavy. The larger battery, I think the 5A battery, is heavier than the 2A battery, and so when you put it inside of the string trimmer, it makes it that much heavier because you have to put it inside of here. And then same with the backpack, it gets that much heavier. And so if you have a handheld blower, that's going to be a lot of weight on your forearms. It's not that heavy, but it's just not as convenient as wearing it on your back. So, but yeah, here we go. Here's our finished product. We was able to clean it up really nice. We was able to blow out those edges. The string trimmer works great. The lawnmower works great. I don't think you need my recommendation at this point. I've probably given it to you 20 times. It's a great piece of machine. I really like it. It's 1 year in. It's still going strong. All right, so we was able to talk about all the great reasons why I like the Greenworks set and how well it's done for my property. But what don't I like about it? As for all of its great benefits, there are some setbacks to this set. It's not a long list, but it's something to consider. For one, there's only one blade on the bottom of this lawnmower, so you have to make sure you're sharpening that blade to get the best cut pretty frequently, or you need to make sure that you're doing multiple passes when cutting the yard, maybe in a crisscross pattern or something like that. Now, for those that are pretty enthusiastic about cutting their grass and keeping it all nice, they don't mind doing a couple passes on the yard to get that great look or to get a stripe or a nice pattern. But if you're crunched for time, you're going to get a nice cut on the first pass, but you might notice that there's a couple strings that sit up. Once everything's all turned off, you might notice there's a couple blades that are a little bit higher. They might have gotten laid down by the wheel, and you got to circle back and knock that out with the trimmer, or bring the whole lawnmower back to try to catch that. So that's something to consider. Also, I mentioned before about the size of the battery. Couldn't make the units a little bit heavier to use. So if you struggle with that, that's something to consider. I'm not sure if you can equate the same weight as a battery to say if it was a gas powered trimmer, for example. You're going to fill that up with gas in a can, so there's going to be extra weight that way also. So maybe it's equivalent, maybe it's not. The thing about the Greenworks is that there's different size batteries, so you don't have to use the largest size to put into these units. You can use the small 2A battery or another size, and it might be as heavy as the largest battery on the market. So that's another thing to consider. One other thing to think about is battery degradation. I've noticed that for all it's worth, the batteries last. They do what they should do, but they don't last forever. I do find myself needing to recharge more frequently than I think I would have the first month after purchasing this set. The batteries, I think they do lose some of their capacity over time, and so the longer you have a battery, it's not going to last as long. You're going to get the same power out of it, but it's not going to last as long before you have to recharge. So having multiple batteries is going to be pretty important to your happiness as far as, ownership goes. So that's a critical part to think about, because the batteries aren't very cheap. So in my opinion, if you have enough of the Greenworks products, they almost always come with a battery, unless you're buying the unit itself, and then in that case it's always a lot cheaper to just buy the unit. The issue is that it's not just the Greenworks problem for everything that I've mentioned as a setback or a con to this equation. This is for any EV electric set. You're going to have to think about the battery. You're going to have to think about a lot of these things that give you the convenience of going all electric, and you have to weigh those cons with the pros of no maintenance, no gas. You don't have to go to the gas station to fill up a tank. You don't have to tune your lawnmower up. You don't have to there's a lot of things you don't have to do. I mean, I could literally tip my lawnmower upside down and don't have to worry about anything leaking out of it. There's no oil, there's no gas, there's nothing to worry about. And I can fold it up and store it in the garage and save space. So, there's a lot of pros. I think the pros outweigh the cons. So I'm not at all deterred by some of the battery issues. Again, that's a part of the technology that's only going to get better with time. So just like as I mentioned earlier, this was a unit that I bought last year. It's got a capacity to hold one battery. The units that are out this time around 1 year later, you can hold 2 batteries in one unit to get a longer runtime. So the technology keeps changing. It's not a matter of if but when the majority of folks start migrating over to more electric tools. My neighbors across the street, both of them are using gas powered motors, lawnmowers, but both of them have electric trimmers. So that just goes to show you that it's a process for some folks. It's an investment to purchase a lawnmower. You buy a Honda or you buy a Toro or anything like that. They're not cheap, and you don't want to just put it to the side because there's a new thing out there that other people are using. So I respect that. It's going to take time for people to make the change, but I get the question all the time, what do I think, and how has my product stood up over time? And I give the same answer, and I found that my neighbors, one by one, they're starting to buy more and more of these all-electric items, and they're happy with them. So there you have it. There's my review on the Greenworks products. I like it. I give it a thumbs up. I recommend it. That's my take on it. So I hope this was informative for some of you all. Leave some comments below. I'll answer questions if you have any. And we'll take it from there. All right. See you next video.